The Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session for this Wednesday, October 20th, 2021. It's 1:02 p.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. In the boardroom, we have Commissioner Carolina Mejia and County Manager Ramiro Chavez. We also have key members of our Community Planning Economic Development Team, Maya Teeple and Leah Davis, and Brad Medrid representing the City of Tumwater. Topic today is Tumwater Joint Plan Public Hearing Follow-Up. Public can follow along on our YouTube channel. We have half an hour slated, and we'll get right to it. County Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. As you stated, this is an opportunity for the board to discuss the public testimony you received during the public hearing. And there were some, I believe, some interesting and significant comments that you received. You also received some responses at that time. So this is the opportunity for the board to have these conversations, and where would you like to go after this? There is a little bit of an expectation that perhaps we need a decision within a week. Maybe I can bring after this conversation on November 2nd for you to provide direction, as we really like to move forward on this process. So with that in mind, Maya or Leah, who's going to take the lead?
I'll let Leah take it away.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Commissioner, and just for the record, Commissioner Edwards is with us as well through Zoom.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Leah Davis, Community Planning. I have a slide presentation I'd like to share. I think you have a copy of it.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
All right. All right, today, as the County Manager said, we'll take a look at the post-public hearing briefing of the Tumwater Joint Plan update. By November 2nd, staff would like to have direction from the board to keep the Tumwater Joint Plan on the timeline set by the board in 2020. We'll go over the public comment received, the zoning amendments. We have maps to look at. We want to take a closer look at the airport hazard overlay. We'll look at the different Planning Commission recommendations and then the options and next steps. So one written comment was received in opposition to the airport hazard overlay. That same person also testified in person at the public hearing, pretty much the same comment that was sent in written form. We also had a second comment at the public hearing, and that person was opposed to adopting section 11.1.6. And I want to add that there was a late comment received after the public hearing that mentioned some concerns about light industrial uses near a future organic farm at the 85th Avenue Southwest and I-5 zoning change, which we'll get to. So there are 5 proposed zoning amendments plus the airport hazard overlay. We'll take a look at each of those closer. We'll start with the Black Lake Belmore Road and 49th Avenue Southwest zoning change. A little over 2 acres are proposed to be changed from neighborhood commercial to single family medium density. No comments were received regarding this proposed change. At Center Street and 83rd Avenue Southwest, about 30 acres are proposed to be changed from neighborhood commercial to general commercial. This change is more in alignment with the current use, which is an RV park. No comments were received regarding this change. At Little Rock Road and 73rd Avenue Southwest, about 22 acres are proposed to be changed from commercial development to mixed use. Because this is the last piece of land with the commercial development designation, if this change is adopted, we would also be repealing Chapter 22.21 of the Development Code. There were no comments received regarding this proposed change. At 85th Avenue Southwest and Interstate 5, this parcel is about 75 acres. It is currently business park. The proposal is to change it to light industrial. It's the last parcel containing the business park zoning. So if this zoning change is adopted, Chapter 22.28 of the Thurston County Code would be repealed. This is a citizen-initiated zoning amendment request. This parcel is about a half acre. The green area is an open space designation, and it includes the Deschutes River and a tall bluff. And if the single-family low-density line should have followed the top of the bluff, but there was an error made. And so this correction would give a future developer approximately half acre more in single-family low density. So we'll get to the airport hazard overlay zone. The blue on this map depicts the expanded airport hazard overlay, and it includes about 224 acres, most of which is in the rural county. A small sliver is in the southern portion of the urban growth area. So the RCW requires jurisdictions through comp plans and development code to discourage uses that are incompatible with general aviation airports. Adopting the airport hazard overlay and the accompanying development code could save lives by discouraging high-density uses, tall buildings, and uses that store flammable products. All of these restricted uses are not allowed currently in the R1 to 10 zone, so there would be no change there. We'll take a closer look at the Planning Commission recommendations. Thurston Planning Commission recommended adopting the Tumwater Joint Plan with the zoning amendments and the airport hazard overlay, but proposed removing one section, that is the recommended amendments to the Thurston County Code. It's a table that's in the joint plan. Tumwater Planning Commission recommended adopting a joint plan as proposed with no changes. And after some work sessions, the Tumwater City Council sent a resolution to the Board of County Commissioners recommending adoption of the joint plan in its entirety. So a closer look at section 11.1.6 that the Thurston Planning Commission would like stricken. It is a list of code changes that Tumwater has made over the last 25 years. This list could serve as a guide for community planning to take a closer look at the development code when we go to update that and see where our code could be more improved consistency within the urban growth area. And it's important to note that none of the recommended changes in that table, in that section 11.1.6, would be adopted directly or by reference. Each code change would go through the Planning Commission review and public hearing, and the Board of County Commissioners review and public hearing, leaving the final decision to the board. So today there are three options before the board regarding the Tumwater Joint Plan update. Staff requests that you choose an option by November 2nd to keep this joint plan on track. Option one is to bring forward the joint plan as drafted and recommended by the Tumwater Planning Commission and the City Council, including the airport hazard overlay and section 11.1.6. Option two is to bring forward the joint plan as recommended by the Thurston Planning Commission, striking section 11.1.6. And option three, the board could direct staff to remove other items such as land use and zoning amendments. Once staff receives direction from the board, the joint plan can be included with the annual update of the comprehensive plan. And that's everything, and we're available for questions.
Commissioner Mejia.
So out of these three recommendations, Leah, which one is goes with our strategic plan that's laid out, with the county strategic plan?
I would say that option one is most closely aligned with the county strategic plan.
Okay.
Commissioner Edwards?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Well, I'm inclined to go with our planning commission at this point in time. I don't think I have any questions. I would like to have a little more information as to why there was a disagreement between the Tumwater Planning Commission and our planning commission.
The discussion during the joint planning public hearing and the work sessions and then subsequent hearing was that I think they were under the assumption that if we kept those recommendations in the joint plan, they would automatically be included in a development code update. And that is not the way the process works. That was what I got from their comments. Does anyone else who was at that hearing have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll chime in real quick on the Thurston County Planning Commission recommendation. So there was quite a bit of an extensive discussion around there, and we suggested some ideas as staff to potentially change the titling and the naming of that so it does not say recommended code amendments, and instead is verbiage more that it's kind of an implementation plan. But the Thurston County Planning Commission did not feel comfortable including that list because there were concerns that it would tie the county to considering those code amendments and adopting them as the City of Tumwater has in their municipal code. But as Leah mentioned, that's not what the process would be. Each code would go through the full public review process with Planning Commission, Board of County Commissioners, to public hearings, and they don't have to be exact to what Tumwater implements in the city. We would consider what is appropriate for citizens that are living in the urban growth area, but the goal would be to have them align as closely as possible to what the city implements so that annexation is a little bit more fluid.
Commissioner Edwards, anything else on that? I'm not hearing him now. I guess my thought is that unless our planning commission knew to a certainty that none of the but the list of changes should be adopted, and that's not what I'm hearing is the case, then I don't understand why we wouldn't want to include that checklist, because that's kind of what joint planning is about. Not to say we'll automatically adopt all of the Tumwater pieces, but chances are we'll adopt a lot of them because that's what you do when you try to do a joint plan to make, as Maya said, to make future annexations much smoother. So definitely we want to go through that process, and my understanding is that it's just a checklist of things that we want to make sure we evaluate. So I'm supportive of keeping it there in there, that 11.1.6 piece. The airport overlay, I guess I have a follow-up on that. Definitely, obviously we heard some public comment. The law that Leah cited said that we're discouraged from, I guess one question is, like one point that stuck out that you said today, Leah, was that I'm not sure I realized before, is that the uses that the overlay would prohibit are already prohibited by our zoning scheme. So the only way that this would affect a future property owner is dependent on the board changing the zoning, Board of County Commissioners changing the zoning at some point, which is never a given. Very heavy lift in any situation. So I guess that's an important consideration from my part. But as a follow-up, I just kind of like to know how tightly bound are our hands on this in terms of what the state law requires. Like if the board, for example, said, no, we're not doing this, the citizens don't want it, we're not doing it. Are we creating, are we liable for something? Are we required to do this to some degree, or what would be the result of not doing it at all?
I don't know.
I'm happy to start on that one.
Okay.
If you'd like me to.
Okay. Yeah.
So This is particularly important for the urban growth area, and we do already implement a portion of the airport hazard overlay within our urban growth area. We actively implement it. There's a few slivers that need to be added just to update it. That's where the higher density uses typically occur. And within the rural area, because it is R1 to 10, there's less likelihood of seeing concerns there over the long run. But the UGA could potentially be expanded down the road, and you'd want to protect that area for uses that could be cited 10, 20 years from now. Additionally, there might be some types of special uses that can occur within that area that allow for higher grouping of people, like let's say a home-based daycare center, a family daycare provider that has several children. That's the type of use that could potentially be affected within the airport hazard overlay because it cites more people within that zone. So while there's not a great concern of the rural area and not implementing it in there, it would help us be consistent with what the city is already implementing and what the county is already implementing in the urban growth area. And it would just act as another layer of protection if there are certain special uses that are allowed now or in the future that potentially allow for more people to be sited in those areas. Building heights, there's a lot of things that could potentially change in the development code over the next 20 to 30 years. So even though most of these uses are not permitted now, there are some that we would be concerned about at the county level, even without a zoning change. But you know, the risk is low for that area. So,
And it might be prudent to take this step now rather than wait until those uses have, been approved in 10, 15 years from now, and then try to do an overlay to protect once the development's done. I think that's
more
the
controversial, probably.
Yeah.
And Leah, I'm sorry, I was going to say, Leah, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you speak with those folks who commented at the public hearing? And I know one of them had asked for a little bit more information. Was there any follow-up around that?
Yeah, and I think for the most part, their concerns were allayed. I don't think they understood. I mean, there was a general feeling that the airport would be expanded. That was a big deal. There was a lot of questions about that. And then now, that once they understood that it really wouldn't impact their property or their ability to develop currently under the current zoning, it allayed their concerns.
So on that point, my sense was out of the three commenters, there were like three households that commented, and one of them seemed well satisfied by the information they got, and one of them I wasn't sure, and one of them didn't seem very satisfied. But so I guess, Maya, following up on your point, the concern is that maybe in the future we're going to need to expand the urban growth area boundary, and so it maybe not as unforeseeable as I was suggesting, that there'd be a need or a pressure to develop where it's now 1 to 10. It could be changed because of expanding urban densities and population. And Leah, I think you're saying that it's going to be less controversial to do it now than having to do it at some point when there's more people sited there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those are my questions and comments. I'll go circle back to the commissioners or the county manager. Go ahead, Gary.
I guess I'm hearing that our planning commission, probably there's a misunderstanding, maybe that's what I'm hearing, but I guess from my perspective, I would want to clarify that before I voted against what they recommended, because what they recommended sounds like it might have changed if a few things would have been clarified. So I don't know the process. Does it get sent back to the planning commission to affirm the position that staff has given, that they think they did this because of this, whatever that is,
Is that how we would do it, or I see somebody is here from Tumwater Planning. Would we have somebody from our planning commission maybe sit in on a deal like this and say, yeah, that's kind of what it was. That was the holdup. So I'm not
Yeah,
necessarily
so-
against it. I just would like to make sure that we followed the recommendation. They're the ones that studied it from the county's perspective, apparently. So
Right. So either option 1 or 2 would, be consistent with this county strategic plan. As staff, having that section in there is very helpful as kind of an implementation plan for us moving forward when we work on the code updates. We did invite a planning commissioner to the brief in August, and they were not available to attend. However, I believe at the public hearing, one of the planning commissioners did provide oral testimony. So that would be what I would recommend to go back and listen to. The process for Thurston County is after the board makes a decision, whichever moves forward, then we will relay that back to the planning commission.
Okay, Commissioner Mejia, Romero, anything?
No, you asked my questions in regards to the airport situation and if there was follow-up with those citizens and kind of how that played out. But so no other questions in regards to that. For me, I feel like the process is pretty much cleared up. I mean, was this explained to the planning commission, how it would still follow process?
I felt
Yes.
like it was explained, yes, and I'm basing my assumptions on what they were thinking, partly on the testimony at the Board of County Commissioners public hearing, where Commissioner Nelson specifically said that if that table is adopted as part of this joint plan, that we would at that point be adopting those codes directly or by reference. And that's partly what I'm basing my assumption on and what he was thinking when he took the vote at the Planning Commission, after the Planning Commission public hearing. So it was explained to them, and I think there was just some ongoing misunderstanding.
And Leah, if the board decides to go with option 1, which includes the the sections 11.16 and 5, which it gives as I understand, it provides the roadmap as to what the next steps we need to take in terms of amending the code, our code.
That's correct.
Yeah, and any changes to the code, I believe they have to go through the planning commission again.
Correct.
So the planning commission will have the opportunity also to provide feedback and any potential changes of the county code. So as I understanding this inclusion, it just provides the roadmap as to what the next steps that even the planning commission is going to
That's
be
correct.
involved in making that recommendation to the board.
Yes. Very, very well put.
Yeah, thank you.
Chair, is there a deadline that we're in a hurry to do this, particularly for a reason?
You have the next steps, and obviously, there's a lot of information. And I will bring this item on November 2nd to provide direction on and based on the options the staff has provided to you. There is an expectation for the board to provide direction at that point, is because we like to finalize this as part of the overall comp plan amendment process that we do at the end of the year.
Yeah, we do those once. This is part of that thing we do once a year.
So if we don't do this, we have to wait another year.
That's correct.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, there's no reason for that. I mean, it's
There's a
not
lot
that.
of work behind it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the board sounds like they can chew on it till November 2nd. I'm leaning toward option 1 myself, but
That's the option I'm leaning towards too.
So,
okay. Anything else we need to do?
I
before
just
we
want to be
break?
respectful to Commissioner Edwards in terms of providing the additional time to brew over those ideas. And again, on November 2nd, we'll bring this back to you for a formal decision.
Okay,
That's fine.
sounds fair. Okay, we're off to another session at 1:30 in a different Zoom. I thank everybody for being here. Leah, excellent job kind of breaking it down and making it clear what the decision points are. Appreciate that.
Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Good job, and thank you for joining us, Brad.